don't even know if this is true, but I love it. It's an myth in the open space world. Open space came about because a man called Harrison Owen spent a long time organising a conference. And at the end of the conference, people knew who he was because he was wearing a hat. And they went to him and said, "That was a great conference. If I'm honest, the best bits were the coffee breaks." And from what I hear and what he says, he had to agree that that was true. So open space is kind of the realization that the real work was not happening in the formal structure, it was happening in the informal structure. Out of where the real work was supposed to be happening. So open space turns that inside out and puts the informal structure right in the middle. It involves some principles. And if you look around the room, you see. And these principles, sometimes people come up to me after open space and they say, the rules of open space, the rules of, they're not rules, they're principles. And what that means is they are descriptions. They're descriptive, not prescriptive. These principles happen whatever, it's just we're very good at putting stuff in the way of what's happening. The first of these is whoever comes the right people. As you know, you're the people who turned up this morning because you care, and you're the right people to be working together this morning at the World Open Space and Open Space. Some people said they were going to come. I'm not going to worry about them. It doesn't mean they don't care because they're not here. It's just they have other stuff that they care about and they're going to work on elsewhere. We're the right people. Similarly, if you call a session, you go to your session in Mouse, the people who come will be the people who are the right people to work on that because they're the ones that care. We could go, oh, if only this person was here. The great thing about the people who didn't turn up is that they're not there. They're not there to hold you back from doing the real work that you want to do. Okay? That comes to the right people. That might mean, for some of you who are in open space for the first time, you call your session, you go to Whale, and you're very excited, and you are the only person who turns up. This is a possibility. I've seen it many times in open space. Some things to think about. You have some options. You can have a great big sock. It's a perfectly valid option. You can also think, maybe it's not a good idea. Maybe it's a great idea, the wrong time. Great idea, right time, and you're the only person in this room with the vision and creativity to see what a great idea it is. You are a visionary. Some of the best reports I've seen from open space have been written by people on their own. They've started their work and they had a really good conversation with themselves. Good work can come from a conversation with yourself. A good hour and a half to work on a thing that you really care about. Most writers will tell you they spend a lot of time in conversation with themselves, and books come out of that. Don't underestimate the space you give yourself when you find yourself on your own. I've also seen people on their own write their topic large on a big piece of flip chart paper, start their work on their own, and at the end of the session there are 45 people working. She asks because they're not there at the beginning, doesn't mean they won't be there later. Whoever comes the right people. Whatever happens is the only thing that could have. Could have, would have, should have, if only. We could have an argument with reality, but as Byron Katie says, if you argue with reality, you only lose 100% of the time. We're going to check into reality and work from there, the most powerful place to work from, how things actually are. Whatever happens is the only thing that could happen. Why? Because it did. Wherever it happens is the right place. This is a new principle. I'm guessing it was dreamed up in the bottom of a martini glass. Wherever it happens is the right place. I'm finding out what this means. We've been including it, and it keeps surprising me. At the moment, what I would say is, you can open space anywhere. It's not context specific. So, the space can be opened on the bus on the way here. The space isn't necessarily just in the designated areas of discussion. We could think these 3 days were something really special and then go back to something different. There is nothing special. Open space is life. And you can open space anywhere. That's what it means to me at the moment. Whenever it starts at the right time. Okay, of course, there's a timetable. There's designated times for sessions to start. Did we start at 10 o'clock? Of course not. We've been doing lots of open spaces for theatre people. I've challenged them to come up with a show that actually starts when they say it's going to start in the world. Okay? Some people from Germany insisted. Whenever it starts at the right time. Your sense of felt time, yeah? It's what you would call kairos time, not chronos time. The clock that's outside you. And then this other seasonal clock within you. Creativity comes in its own way, it ebbs and flows. Can you follow yourself and believe in your experience? Whenever it starts at the right time. I sort of feel it in my body. I feel this first one come from within me as an impulse like trust. And this chronos time thing feels like a sort of crunchy cog thing that's outside us. Yeah. So we're going to tune into our own sense of time. When it's over, it's over. You go to the session, you do your work, and in 10 minutes you've sorted out your issue. You can stop. When it's over. You can then go off somewhere else and be where your time is being used well. Okay? So don't feel you have to stay working on something just because it says the session lasts for an hour and a half. I'm on a small campaign in theatre. You know, some of you know, we've been doing open space for theatre people, to see if people can stop their rehearsals when they're over, not when it says they're over. Partly because what I notice is this thing when you go, oh, it's 5:30, what a fantastic day we've had, we've got another half hour, we must use the rehearsal space, work for another half an hour and slowly undermine everything that you've done during the day. This is not a joke, it's absolutely what happens. Of course, if it's not over, it's not over. If you hit the end of your session time clockwise and you're just starting to get to work, keep working. Take your session elsewhere. Arrange to meet in 2 weeks' time in Moscow. If it's not over, it's not over. There's still passion and responsibility to do stuff. Keep working. So those are the principles. They're descriptions. It's going to happen anyway. Sometimes people say, what does this expression opening space mean? It seems to me to be about somehow getting the things out of the way that stop those principles working with their real sense of flow. We do have a law. It's the law of 2 feet. Interpreted in different ways, because of course we don't all have 2 feet. Sometimes called the law of mobility, sometimes called passion and responsibility, motion and responsibility. Whatever, it's the law of 2 feet. And the law of 2 feet states if you find yourself somewhere where you're not learning, not contributing, use the open open space technology, put this foot in front of the other, and take yourself where your time is being used well. Only you know the meaning of the law of 2 feet. I can tell you what it is, but your experience and the quality of your experience will be down to your own sense of what that law means. The law of 2 feet. If you leave someone's session, you're not being rude. You're giving them a gift. 2 gifts. The first is some feedback. It's good. Some people who enjoy the sounds of their own voice, yes, even the knowledge that people might leave is useful for them. The other gift that you're giving is you're not hanging around in their session, actually being absent. So can you notice if your feet have gone somewhere else? And then can you become in alignment with yourself and go where that little impulse is taking you and trust that? What would the world be like? Good open space question for the world open space. What would the world really be like if people followed their feet? It's so simple. It seems to me to be massive. I love it. Okay? So, there it is. The law of 2 feet. You'll see some behaviours that come out of the law of 2 feet. Beautiful pictures drawn on the walls. And in fact, there are some people representing these. Bees, waggle your antennae, please. These bees are a little metaphor. You might be a bee in open space. You might be carrying from the little nexus of passion to other little flower. You might be carrying the pollen. You might be cross-fertilizing ideas that are happening in this system, in this room. If we were one big brain in this room, doing some work on open space in the world, maybe they would be like the neurons connecting up, making this brain a little bit more intelligent, a little bit more flexible, a little bit more creative. So you might see the bees, you might be the bees. Then there's some other pictures. Butterflies. They're around the room. And I love the butterflies because they hang around doing very little. Just looking rather beautiful. Just like they do in nature. They might be hanging around by the coffee. They might be hanging out by the coffee. They're the butterflies. They're little centres of non-doing. What I have noticed in my time of creating art, theatre, whatever, is this thing I think which is that I haven't ever seen a really genuinely new idea that doesn't have some relationship to not doing. These seem to be the little pockets where emergent ideas come from. Very often I get asked, yes, but what was the outcome of that open space? What were the actions that came from it? What I've noticed is that if you were to ever say there was an action, it had some relationship to non-doing, it had some relationship to silence. So we're having conversations with each other and our voices. We're also having conversations with silence. And the butterflies hold the silence. They hold the dreams. They're also quite good at gossiping. they often, I noticed them outside buildings, talking about what's really going on in the organisation. I see them backstage and the techies talking about whether the show is really any good. And there's a theme that they could solve if only someone asked them. If only someone talked, I would be. These are the butterflies. This gossip is interesting. What I also see in gossip is potential sessions that could come back in the pot if you take responsibility for them. Is it possible to bring awareness into your gossip and recycle it? What I mean is bring some awareness to it. Can you recycle your gossip? It's an ecological issue. I don't always know how to do it, but I think it's worth thinking about. So those bees, those are the butterflies, you'll see them, enjoy them, okay? Soon I'm going to stop talking because I can feel your session is bubbling up and I can feel he's talking a lot, says a voice in my head. And I'm going to say one more thing, and it's about being prepared to be surprised and about conversation. I'm very excited by the idea of conversation. There's a poet called David White, some of you may know, and he talks about the conversational nature of reality. Be prepared to be surprised. What does this mean? I think it's an invitation to open some space in yourself, to open some space in your own mind, and to notice that whether you're surprised perhaps is as much up to you as it is to do with the world having a responsibility to surprise you. What does that mean? Maybe it's something about having a conversation. A real conversation. Open space, I've heard people say, it's just people having conversations. Yeah. But can we get more elegant with our conversations? So, what I want from the world, it won't quite give me in the way I want it. What the world wants from me, I won't quite give in the way the world expects it. Between those two things, the little frontier of vulnerability. And it seems to me that's where the conversations can come. So I might go into this event and come out the other side of it changed, possibly. Rather than firing myself at the event, like a kind of missile, hoping I won't change first and go out the other side. What was the point of coming to the world open space? An open space, I didn't go out the other way, a little bit different. So, that's me talking a lot. Time to let the real work happen. If you want to call a session, come to the centre of the circle, write your short, punchy title down,